Thursday, November the 14th. I was just saying how time's going so fast. It's already halfway through November. So let's let's keep up the good work as always and go forward. It's before you know it, it's going to be the end of the year. So let's just enjoy every day and embrace everything that we have and all the stuff you guys are learning. Hope you're having fun and enjoy every moment of it, right? Because it's just like anything else, right? All right, I'm going to share my screen now, and we're going to get started or continue with the web module. So I'm going to talk about that, and here we go. Recordings in session, very good. As always, let me know if you cannot see my screen. Otherwise, if you don't say anything, I'm assuming you're seeing it okay. So that looks like it's good. Great. So here we are. This is let's look at the assignments first. I don't know if you had your composite assignment delivered yet, but I will release my segment anyways. Let me ask you that right now. Did you get assigned your composite assignment number 2 yet or no? Give me hands up if you do.
In Illustrator, we did yesterday.
All right. So what is it? Is it the music band?
Yeah, the vinyl record,
The
right?
vinyl record.
And
That's
music
right.
band. Yeah,
Because vinyl's back, right? That's why.
yeah. It's been back for a couple of years.
I have a friend. He made a business out of that. He's still doing it actually. He sells like vinyl and like very fancy equipment to play that stuff and whatever. So I don't know if he's haven't reached out to him in a bit, but yeah, it made it back. That exercise used to be the composite assignment, I should say, used to be a CD cover. Now the CDs are that was another nostalgic thing, but I think vinyl was a little more creative. So I'm glad we went that direction instead of the CD covers. I wasn't a big fan of the CD covers, to be honest with you. So the vinyl is good because that incorporates some printing and setup, some packaging, merchandising, all that stuff you're going to be learning in other courses, right? Or other classes, I should say, like the Illustrator. You're going to be doing all the branding, all the logos, all the print stuff. In Photoshop, however, we're not going to focus on print. We're going to focus on web now. I'm sure in Felicia's class, your web instructor will give you a component that's going to be targeted towards the website, which entails the composite assignment for the band, right? So you can pick any band out there, or I guess a lot of students. It's funny. One semester we had 3 musicians in the class. I don't know if Felicia mentioned it to you. So they had their own album that they were basically marketing and promoting. It was kind of cool. And I don't know if some of you are into the music industry as well. We always get a few people from different genres and different backgrounds. So if you are the musician type, let us know and maybe we can see if you can. I'm sure you can um, use that as your leverage and create your website kind of thing if you're into the music industry. All right. So either way, it's a fun assignment, a fun project, and a lot of students had fun with it. And the best part is you're learning different aspects of how to deliver these different methods and applications you're learning. So I will release mine here as well. Okay, so the composite assignment 2, might as well go over it since we're talking about it now. So for the second composite assignment, you will be demonstrating the Photoshop techniques learned in class to fulfill the objective for the overall final presentation. A CD PDF attached, which is right over here, for more details. Some of the criteria points are layer organization and management. I still see a lot of you not, uh, you know, use this method here even in your first composite assignment. So I want to see or encourage you to use more layer organization and management going forward, especially for the website. It's very important. You can end up with like 20, 30, 40, 50 layers. You want to make sure they're organized properly so you can have a better way of, doing your work, editing your work, and, whatever that that entails to be. You can basically do a better job of it by organizing your layers better. Image placements with the frame tool. I'm going to cover this today, actually. It's a new tool that got introduced in the application. And this tool will also allow you to insert images like placement holders. You have a similar tool in InDesign where you can just put pictures in, picture boxes and things like that. And instead, we're using the clipping mask method. And we've covered that for a number of weeks now. Started with the pen tool. It was one of your in-class projects that you guys did as well. The So basically, how the clipping works is, you make an object and you clip the image behind it, and that's how we were able to do the website even last week. We had a very nice class last week, from what I remember. We covered all the main aspects of designing a wireframe of the website, and not only that, dressing it up as a real website. So we're going to continue today's lesson into these other new important fields as well. This is why I'm giving you this introduction and spiel. Generation of image assets. Okay. This is also a new thing that was unleashed, I would say like years ago, but it's still a very powerful tool because a lot of Photoshop templates that are designed in the software, designers to developers, basically. So from design, you can take these image assets and put them into your HTML and make an actual website. I'm going to show you a slicing method as well. This is not mandatory or the criteria for this project here, but I will show you how to create a prototype using another original method, which was slicing the website from Photoshop and converting it into HTML so you can serve the prototype or the actual design onto a browser. What better way to present a website than an actual working, functioning browser? Because that way it looks like a real website. Because if you show a website to someone, you can't give them a JPEG, right? It doesn't look too professional. I mean, a lot of people do, mind you. They give them images or slides or a slide deck we call it, and you give them like 5 different pages all laid out, and you can say this is what's going to look like. It's just a design, and then once that's agreed upon, you change the colors, the images, some of the other assets. Then you produce the website. You don't just make a website, right? You don't just go and make a random website or pick a template online and present it to your client and say, here, do you like this website? They're going to say, no, this is not what we asked for. So you have to go through the vigorous process of doing the prototyping, the wireframing, the back and forth with the customer, the client, the research, the delivery, all those things. We're going to cover more of that next semester with the UX UI class. But good way to get started now is with this one here. This will help you generate image assets for your HTML. So it'll make your web design class that much more easier because you're generating all the graphics for it. Multiple artboards, minimum 4. I will have to show you how to create a multiple artboards in Photoshop, and you're going to create 4 separate pages. Okay. Now, some did 1, and that was like a very lengthy page, but most students will go with the 4-page design. One page would be like your home page, and the second page would be like your about us page. So you're going to talk about the band in this case, since we're talking about the composite 2 assignments. The third page could be a list of their songs or maybe concerts that they have, upcoming concerts and shows, or maybe just some media. The fourth page could be their swag, which is their merchandise gear. They might have sell t-shirts, hats, and different types of merchandising. I'm sure you're all aware about the Taylor Swift concert that's taking place today at the Rogers, well, I still call it the Rogers Center, the Scotia Bank Arena, and people are lining up already, from what I hear. I put the radio on and I get informed of what's happening. And yeah, it's going to be the next 4 days. I think we have the Taylor Swift pandemonium all over the Toronto, so it's going to be quite the traffic in the city. Like what they say, like 500,000 people are going to be attending these things. So whether it's Taylor Swift or whether it's a band that you're doing, the way they make money from endorsements, concerts, merchandising gear. So think about these things. Like I want you to think, kind of beyond the box and just do whatever you think it's necessary for this band. Pretend they're that. Maybe they're not on Taylor Swift's level, but treat it like that, right? Make them look nice and big. All right, here's the PDF. So this one here will give you all these detailed instructions on what's expected for this delivery. So as you're aware, there will be separate grade components administered for this assignment for each class. So for the digital imaging Photoshop class, this one here, you require the following items upon submission of the album CD. I do apologize. This should say vinyl album project. So I'm going to change this to vinyl. So you're making a vinyl project, not CD. We just changed the word, really. So I'll still want to see some traditional methods that are, quite, um, popular and very helpful with designing montages and layouts in Photoshop. So layer masks, of course, are to be used on some images to show transparency. Various selection methods are demonstrated. So that this is all a given. You have to use selections in Photoshop and layer masks to get things done. The new stuff that you haven't learned that I want to see demonstrated is this third one here, generation of assets for the website coding project. Notice how I didn't put image assets. I put assets in general because assets could be logos, graphics, could be even just like color boxes and for the main part it's probably images as well. So image assets, logo assets, any graphical assets that accompany the website, which will generate to aid the website into the production phase. Layer styles are optional but could help with the overall presentation, like things like the drop shadows, the effects and stuff that you can integrate to spruce up some of the graphics. um, Complete mock-up including the home page along with navigation, etc. So you want to make sure you give me all the pages. I did put in the brief here, okay, multiple artboards. So kind of go ahead with this whole thing here. This is just an updated key points for you to remember. This is the most important part of this assignment, but these are some of the other supplementary expectations, okay? And good luck and have fun. I always put that in there. And there's your overall criteria. Okay, this one's out of 20 points. So there you have it. Now you're going to be doing a website in the other class. You're going to be creating some stuff in Illustrator for the merchandising, promotional, marketing part. And for this class, you're going to be creating the prototype. So before you do the website, you should do a prototype design. Now, in theory, you should do this first before you do HTML, but we can't do that because the class is lined up evenly. So you have to do it kind of together in lockstep. You have to do this as you're doing the HTML, which is okay. If the website doesn't look exactly like your prototype, I understand. It's sometimes you have to do things back and forth, but at least you're learning the process of creating a concept or a design before you make the HTML, which makes sense. Just like you would do when you draw a logo or a business card or some kind of a magazine layout. You always put it on paper first. It's that much more easier to put something down on paper cognitively when you communicate, with your hand, writing stuff, drawing stuff. We're built that way. But at least our generation, right? The newer generations, maybe they're taught differently now. Even cursive writing is, it's not popular in some schools anymore. We're more into the digital era with iPads and smartphones and things like that. But nonetheless, at least until the next generation, we still do things manually. Okay, whether it's drawing stuff, writing stuff down, gathering ideas, generating, concepts, and putting this stuff to work. Okay, so that's why this is important for you to understand and execute to deliver this. All right. When is this due? Obviously, it's not to April. This is from last semester. I got to change the due date. This is due in the last week of school. So I'm just going to quickly fast forward that date. If some of you got a 0 for this, don't worry. Sometimes, I don't know why Gradebook does that. So your mark obviously gets corrected after a while. So if you're having like a 50% in my class or a 60% or even a 40, just wait until it updates this grade here and just look at your breakdowns to see why and stuff. If you see a 0, there's a problem, obviously. So this is going to be due This is the final week of class. What are we today? So today's the 14th. This is week 11, class 10. Next week is week 12, class 11. Week 13, class 12. Week 14, class 13. Week 15, class 14. So it's the 12th. So I'm going to give you till the last day of school for this because it's, just the more the merrier. Now, technically, there's another assignment. I'm going to squeeze that in there as well on the 5th. So I'm just seeing you have two more items left in my class. You have this one here, the book cover, of course. That one is due this week. This is the next big one, and you have an assignment. So after that, you're pretty much done for this course. Okay. So I'll give you till the end of the actual semester for this one. Change dates. So 4 weeks you have, okay, to get all this done. So lots of time, but lots of work as well. You don't have to worry about the responsive version of this. I used to have another component here. It was a little hard to do both. You have to do a mobile version and the desktop version. Next semester, this is why I'm saving all the mobile stuff for next term, because next semester when we start using the UX UI class, the user interface, we are going to be, utilizing a lot of other programs. Like we're going to do some stuff in Illustrator, Photoshop, Figma, XD, all these programs to create mobile responsive prototypes. So we'll leave that for then. Right now, we're focusing on the desktop. Okay. So there's no mobile component to this. Alrighty. And any questions? Because this is all I think good to go now. And then you have the main projects, the book cover. Okay, so this one's due today. So once you do the book cover and that's done, and that's the last print, aspect or component of this module. So the print is done. The movie poster, the book cover, were all intended for print design, and the composite one was a little bit of both because we did the social media component with the print component. Composite two will be the web component. So it's all digital web stuff. Okay. And the next assignment that I'm going to give you, which is probably in the week or two, it'll be you're going to get one more, and that's going to be the motion design for web. So you're going to do an animation for a website. A lot of students even take this opportunity to convert this assignment for their website as well. So you can even include this into your website prototype. Even the real website, you can have like an animated banner play on your website. All right, so I'm going to assign this to you next week because I'm going to cover this subject next week. Today, we're going to wrap up the website. Okay, just to give you a rundown, so we're kind of have a good scope on the whole matter and everything. So now we're all kind of aligned with everything else. Even helps me keep track as well. Like I look through my stuff, obviously, but together with you, sometimes it's better to explain it than me thinking in my head what I know. It's different than what I'd explain to you. So module 12 is going to be the homepage mockup, webpage mockup. That's another mockup there. And then motion design. We might even move this up a little sooner because honestly, what we're covering today is going to be a little bit of this here as well. So there's a little bit of an overlap, which is great. See, we're ahead of schedule. Excellent. That's always good news. All right, so let's get started. What I can ask you to do is continue from last week's exercise if you have it done. If you haven't, just follow me along. I can upload this stuff here because we did all this in one class. I mean, we could have technically. I have to still do something else from here, and I'm gonna kind of dip into this one. So we're gonna kind of cover all these three here in due time. Let me go ahead and pull up the file from last week. So this is where we left off. If I open up the actual folder, lesson folder here. Class 9, week 10. I think we went to Amazon even and measured the width, and it was 1500 pixels. And we created a template for that width. This is what we did last week, which is quite a bit of work. We did all that in one class. Pretty impressive. And this could be an actual website. Let me show you, before we did that, I just want to show you my web development class that I also teach. And we're up to par with you guys. We're doing the similar thing. Um, so this is like the mobile version on the right. The header, the body, the footer. The website's on the left. Header, body, footer. Those are the three main breakdowns of the website. The header can contain your navigation or the nav bar. Sometimes even the hero banner, you can squeeze it in the body or the header. Kind of, you can partake in both areas. And the footer is obviously the footer, the credits, and the site links, the backlinks, and things like that. So that's your main anatomy of the website. So we created this. Okay, so we created a very similar design to what we did last week, but it was all grayscale. The intention for the grayscale was to have it communicate to the client in terms of what's going to go where. Because you might want to put a carousel here. Perhaps you want to put um, promotional web banners that promote products and services. So you have like some type of internet web banners that go here to generate revenue. You can have it up here, up down here. This could be like a video. This could be a call to action, some text. This could be like an image. This could be another, component to do something else, whether it's a shopping cart or something else. You do the breakdown of the website based on these rectangular um, sections, okay? Because if you look at any website out there, whether it's Amazon or any website, you do have a similar breakdown, okay? With what it looks like. So it's all about these boxes and these modules and these settings. You can put anything, anywhere, and everywhere, okay? And you can see how, Amazon's just very simple, very similar to what we did. The only difference is this menu nav bar. I mean, that's a lot of HTML and CSS to make it work like that. But if you're doing an e-commerce website, perhaps you should make it busy and make it look like this with a search bar on top, right? I have a more simplified version. This is my website. I own a dental business directory, as I've showed you before. So this breakdown was a little better, right? So we had a more simpler design. We have the menus over here. I have one drop-down menu and their specialties. Here I have orthodontists, I have dental hygienists, technicians, and manufacturers. All the other ones are main links here. But see, the breakdown is no different than, let's say any other website. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns here, 4 columns here, right? If you look at my site, I have 2 columns here. I have 4 columns here, right? Then I have 4 columns here. I got reviews. I have 3 over here. So 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, this is 1, the calendar. Okay, this is an ad, so it's 1 as well, right? So this is how the breakdown works. Whether it's Amazon or any other website, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, or 1 and 5, okay, because 1 plus 5 equals 6 or whatever. You can do that math as well. One long one. This is a carousel, okay, or the 4, and all these are slices. Look, you can pull these up. You can drag them out, save the picture, take the information if you need for something else. So we kind of went over this last week and we generated this breakdown. I just want to make sure I didn't cover it too fast and I didn't miss anything. So from this, we went to the other one. Now, next semester, like I said, with the UX UI, you will be creating a lot of wireframes, prototyping for your concepts as well. For this one, I'm not requiring you to do a wireframe. I mean, you can give me a wireframe if you like, but I'm looking for the final Photoshop component, which is the design, okay? Let's open that up again here. I'm going to upload this file so we have something to work with because you might not even have this done. Maybe you didn't get a chance to do it with me. So I'm going to copy this file onto a Blackboard and we can continue with this file going forward today. So this is like the website mock-up or prototype. We're going to make this a real website, believe it or not, in Photoshop and a little bit of HTML. I'm not here to teach you HTML. I'm going to Leave Felice. He's a lot better than I am with that stuff. That's his specialty. So I'm going to leave him to do that part of it. But I will show you a little in terms of how to execute a presentation on a browser, because that's something I don't think he's going to show you. So I'll kind of take it in that direction with you. And I'll show you how slicing was the thing, the way we used to use as an active method of delivering that. And then in today's current methods of generating assets for the current markup HTML. So this will be an actual, like a website that we're going to make. Um, Now, I think we did the grayscale parts. I think we did do the grayscale version of this. I just want to make sure we have everything. Because honestly, I do want you to do a grayscale version just to get more familiar with how the stuff is. And maybe I'll add it in there. It doesn't hurt. And it's not going to give you that much extra work. It's just proper to do the one step before the other. I just can't believe I don't even have it here sometimes. I know I gave you the truck example. Remember, this was an actual truck website, right? So, whether it's um, a template you get off the internet, there's a lot of Photoshop templates out there that are being sold online. And you can see, I don't think these guys even have the column set up, but it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. They have that kind of breakdown going on here. One long column here, right? They do have some extra space around the edges. So that means you could add space on yours as well. It's just a matter of, how you're going to execute this design. Okay. So they didn't have the 12 column. Maybe they didn't include the template in there. But whether you're doing something like this, and this looks, a little more like a realistic website, not to take away from what we did, but you can see how it looks like almost like a real website. It's just the way it's designed. And all it was is no different than what I did here. It's like a text box, another text box. I didn't really spend the time in the details to do these little things, but I want to encourage you to do it. If you're making a prototype website in Photoshop, get all the little details in there, even these little arrows and stuff. So look, the background, right? They're there, right? For the band website, maybe it would look something more like this, more visual than something more like, search engine oriented with links and text and content and stuff. Keep in mind, content is king, so SEO heavily relies on content. So that's how Google indexes websites and search engines find websites better. Whereas this is more like visual. So you can pick your style and design to execute that. So I'm going to give you access to this. Maybe I'll save it onto the Blackboard. So I'm going to just do this. I'm going to upload this right now, and you can have access to it, and you can follow me with this class. So if you access the class modules, so module 10, okay, I'm going to upload the file here. There was a wireframe file that I did kind of, let me see what that one looks like. I don't think that's the right one. Went to downloads. Right, this is the wireframe file. So that's no different than what I did. It's the same thing. But I will upload both. I'll show you the wireframe file that I did in the web development class and the wireframe file I did with our class last week. I just don't want to make sure I don't rush this and skip anything to make sure everything is delivered properly. Just go to this one here. So I will give you both of these. Maybe that one, look at next time. There we go. So I want to make sure you understand how wireframes work, because from this, basically, we create this. It's not the same breakdown, I know, but you get the idea, right? These gray boxes become the content or vice versa, right? Sometimes you can go backwards, but doesn't make sense to go backwards. You make the wireframe first. This is called a web wireframe. Okay. Now, speaking of wireframes, just to show you how important this is, when you look at other websites, here, like just type in website wireframes. You can see all kinds of different wireframes that are generated before it goes live to the website. There's a good example here. So whether even if it's like a WordPress website, a Wix website, you still have to sometimes supplement the sources, the assets, the graphics, the images. So it doesn't hurt to make a wireframe and then work with that design going forward with whatever tool you're given. I can name you probably a dozen of applications I've used through my careers to build websites. Okay. We used to make websites in Dreamweaver. We used to make websites in Flash. We used to make websites in Fireworks, ImageReady, Photoshop, you know, um, Webweaver, WordPress. Then there's the Wix and there's the other new platforms out there. GoDaddy makes websites now, but they're all template based. You're going to get a very simple, limited design capability to do it that way. What you're learning here with us is not only professional implementation of design, because you can do anything, you can also basically convert it to HTML. It's the best thing to learn going forward in my mind. And then these templates are meant for the simpler audience, the people that are not that well versed with design and understanding the internet. They can just kind of click on a bunch of boxes and populate them with content to make a website. That's not really on a professional level. Okay, to be on this level, you have to be able to do this. This is why we're showing you this stuff. There's a nice example of a wireframe as well. So a wireframe like this is delivered in grayscale format. The reason is because you don't know who your client is, or maybe they don't have a brand or colors yet, and it's too distracting to focus on the on the important parts, which is like what content will go where, whether it's image placements, video placements, content placements, banner advertisement placements, things like that. And this is why these are. Maybe I'll just save this example here. I do like this example here on the desktop save. So I'm going to share this with you so you have an idea of how we built this. If I open this up in Photoshop right now, you'll see there's no different the way I built this one than this one. The difference is we did it all, and I do remember us doing this way. I just didn't save that version. So I wanted to have both versions available to you. For the project, you know what? Show me the wireframe version. I will add it in there. Show me that you can do this. This is important because it'll propel us for next semester, because you are going to do a lot of wireframes next semester for the mobile prototyping. So I should maybe focus on this just to upgrade my curriculum as well. So we're going to put this in there. I want to see this and I want to see that so you can show me both aspects. Because I don't know how you can get here without this. You need the boxes to fill in the blanks, let's say, right? So today, what I'm going to do is maybe start from this point onwards, because I covered this last video, and show you a different way to place images in these boxes. Um, so we can use both examples. Okay, so I'm going to save both of these and upload them right now for you to have. They're all going to be accessible in your, and maybe this is just an example here of a more like a realistic looking website with a filter and some more content, smaller thumbnails, more descriptions, that kind of stuff. Keep in mind, we can do anything you want to do. I can take this example and replicate it basically. If a client says, I want this exact thing, but I want these shifted to the right, this to the left, you can do that. As long as you know how to use the tools, you can recreate almost anything. So this is just an example of wireframes. All right, so I'm going to upload those right now, and then we'll start with the demonstration and how to start this stuff. Okay, so we're going to go add it here. Um, I'm gonna make them all visible to you so you can access all these files I'm just discussing right now. I'm gonna delete this one because it's an older one I used for example. So just to not confuse you, I'm gonna take that one out. These are the image sources that we used to create this wireframe from last week. So I will keep this here as well. All right, so we're all up to speed now and everything is nice and organized for you. So today will be a continuation of where we left off last week and elaborating more on how important this is and what you can do with these placements. So let's go ahead and start off with one of those grayscale templates, which is this one here. So if I open this up, you'll see what this looks like. Okay. I'm going to make some space over here. Uh, Points to remember, like takeaways from how we built this last week, is the fact that, let me unlock all these because I locked them. First thing is we put the text on a separate layer. And if I compare the one we built together in comparison to and these are all linked files. So keep in mind, these image sources are linked. So if one of them goes missing, it might be missing from your design as well. So you want to keep a well-organized method of keeping everything together, whether it's in folders, subfolders, and you can access everything at any given time. And you can see how this was similarly structured. So we have like call to actions or content in a separate layer. And then we have the header, the body, the footer. Okay, so 4 separate groups. And if I was to open each group, look how many layers I have there. I have like almost, 9 or 8 layers there alone. The header has another 5 or 6. The body has a ton, okay? Almost 20 different layers. And the footer has a few there. Altogether, I'm looking at like 40 different layers. So without the folder structure, it's hard to, it's called grouping, actually. That's the term. But they look like little folders in your layers to group the layers within a group to organize it better. There's no better way than doing it this way. So I urge all of you to practice this. Otherwise, you'll have a hard time keeping track of all your work. With the wireframe that I created has a similar thing. We have the text here, which we're going to put. Text could mean anything. Could be the nav bar, the type, the navigation and stuff. We have the header over here. And we put the carousel in the header as well. The body's down here, and then we have the footer down here. And then you add the things. The way we did it last week, just to quickly recap where we left off. Let's say we're putting something in this carousel image area here. So the way we did it last week is we went to some get my image sources here. Here they are, image sources. Just have a copy of that so I can access it a lot easier. All right. So here's my target, which is this rectangle here. First, I'm going to unlock all my layers because if it's locked, sometimes it will prevent you to put stuff in there. And the way I'm going to place an image is by going to File, Place Linked. Linked means you can edit the image externally and then it'll update it within the file, just like you would link an image in InDesign, just like you would link an image in even Illustrator, even your website, HTML. All the image sources are linked and they have to be organized and placed in the right location. If you put images all over your computer or your desktop, you're gonna have a hard time gathering everything afterwards. I also think, well, not that I think, I know InDesign has a feature where you can actually publish your entire document. Well, we used to call it, let me just see the right term here. If you go to File, right, package. Yeah, it is package. When you package it, okay, or we call it basically packaging or pre-flighting the file. It gathers all the stuff for you and you deliver it to the printer. Why would you need that? Because they might want to change the language in French. So for them to edit the French document, they can't edit your PDF. They have to have access to your native formats, like your InDesign files, and they can access, open your sources, they basically open your document in InDesign and convert it to another language or do some type changes. some spelling corrections and things like that. That's the reason why you want to package your stuff in InDesign. As I'm sure Roberto explained that really well to you guys in his class. In here, you're not packaging nothing. There's no package option. In Photoshop, you're saving the Photoshop document as a whole, and all the image sources should technically be aligned with the same location where the file is saved. So just you have to be mindful of that. But as long as if you do file embedded, the difference is the file becomes part of the document. So you don't have to worry about the external linked sources. So that's the main difference here. You can do this way or that way. The benefit again is you can, swap changes quite easily, whereas this one you have to just copy and paste it back. This is safer and more secure. 5 years ago, I don't think there was a difference. There was only one place. There was only, just like Illustrator, place. That's it, right? Illustrator doesn't have place or linked. It's a check mark when you hit place. It presents itself as a check mark option. I want to show you all this stuff because it's very important. This is like the most important part because nothing worse than seeing students in their portfolio night and they forget to link their files and everything's missing and they can't do their presentations because they misplaced their USB stick or they misplaced their hard drives or their files. And then, that's, all your work that you've done now is basically you know interrupted, or I wouldn't say the word corrupt. It's half the stuff is missing basically, so it's not completed. It is completed, but your stuff's missing. So make sure whether you're using Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop, you're learning web stuff, all the subjects that you're learning this semester, the most crucial thing is organizing your linked files, right? So let's open up a lunch menu for Boston Pizza that we're creating here. Look, there we go. Can't find the linked file PDF, right? So if I ignore it, right, what's going to happen is this. Look at that. I can't print this menu for Boston Pizza because they're not going to get it. Look at that. Horrible. Because the linked file's missing. Now, it's not really missing. I just purposely did it to show you. I'm going to relink it now. And the only thing we added here was the baby spinach, mushrooms, penne tossed in garlic pesto cream sauce, baked with guarda, provolone, pizza, mozzarella, and parmesan. If that make you hungry, I don't know what made you hungry there, right? Um, so this was edited on top of the original PDF menu, which was a link source, what I'm pretty much getting at here. So in Illustrator, you just have file, place, right? Photoshop used to have the same thing. The difference now is Photoshop has place embedded and place link. There's two options right away, whereas Illustrator does not. I'm assuming they might eventually keep it up to speed and make it consistent and put both options here and not have this happen to people because I see it happen quite often, including myself. Look at this. But I'm aware of it, so I'll show you how to fix it, right? That's the difference. If you're not aware of it and you panic and you're like, oh no, where's my original file? You're out of luck. Sorry to tell you. You got to somehow find another image, replace it, or redo the whole thing. And you don't want to do that. So let me show you what happens here. When you go to File Place, let's say I select one of these, images here. This is how you control if it's linked or not linked. This little thing here. Presumably, you don't want to, do anything with, externally. You can just turn off the link and all the images become embedded in Illustrator. You don't have to worry about this problem ever again. But if it's a PDF that has content, you have no choice. You have to link it. Otherwise, your fonts will be messed up and stuff. So it's like a two-way ticket for this, right? You have to kind of, go with two alternative methods. So this is your link and not link. This is the same thing as you in Photoshop going to doing these two. Same thing. Now, how do I correct this problem here? Well, I simply go to my links panel, which is very similar to InDesign's links panel. Photoshop doesn't have a links panel. It's within the layers. So that's the difference between Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. Here you have look, see the red thing, it's missing link. So if I click on this relink button, right? And I go to the holiday menu 24, which is 2024, and my sources are here. And I'm looking for um, holiday menu.pdf, holiday menu.pdf. I'm going to use this one here for now because where's the other one there? Holiday menu 24, whatever. I'll use this one. I'll use a lunch menu for now. I'm going to go place and I'll turn off the link or leave it on, right? Notice how it's nice and clear now, right? The only thing I messed up is my price because I replaced the other PDF, all right? So be mindful of these things. You have to make sure the link's working or not working. Otherwise, even this is messed up. Now I put the lunch menu instead of the dinner menu, right? So make sure this is properly set up and optimized for you to, be in control of all these files. It's a perfect example right here because this file was from 2022. So for me to dig deep and find, let's say a file like that, I mean, look what I have to literally do to make that happen. I got to go to the holiday menu here. Let me just quickly find this. Holiday menu. Right. So this is the original one here. I'm going to copy this here. Holiday lunch menu. Right. So these were the original files that we had to re-edit, and we renamed them 2022 because that was the original files that we edited into these ones over here. So it's a good idea to even make another folder called older because these were the originals. From these, we made the 2022 files, and these are the 2024 files. You see how complicated this could get if you're kind of editing this stuff. And if I open up the holiday menu, now it's in InDesign too. So there you go. If we redid it in InDesign, it's a lot easier than the actual Illustrator file. So it was recreated. And yes, you can do these things in InDesign or Illustrator, depending on, the type of job that you're working on. All right. So just not to go back and forth here, but it's important that you really be in control of all your files and links and assets, especially when you do web stuff, right? Right. Okay, let's go back to the web segment here. So how do we put an image in here? I made sure the images are in the same place. I can access them. They're not going to be missing, and I'm going to have that same problem I showed you in Illustrator with the old PDF from like 4 years ago, right? Because it even goes back before 2022. We're going to go to File. Okay, we're going to go Place Linked. Going to access the folder, the image sources folder, which is here. We're going to call one of these images right here. Okay. We're going to resize this image. It's going to be bigger than our target, which is fine. And we clipped it. Remember, we pressed Option click to put it within the box. And then that gave us the maneuverability to, position it, resize it, and do all kinds of nice things like that. So this is pretty much trapped inside this box here. And that's the best way to put images in Photoshop. Well, it was the best way up until this new tool was introduced. So last week I demonstrated this. Okay, I'm just quickly doing a recap to kind of make sense of it all. So today I'm going to do another method with the frame tool. I'm going to redo this whole page here using that method, the new method, okay? But I want to make sure this is clear because this whole thing that we did last week was doing it with this way. If I go to any folder here, like the body, these are all clipped inside, right? So this one here, see, look, this bottom image with the shoe, the Nike shoe. If I option click, okay, it's done that way. Now, besides option clicking, another way to do it is going to, well, you can right click. If you right click, you can create a clipping mask. It's the same thing. Oh, be careful because it's covering that layer now. So option click like that, right? Because it's overlapping the other one. So just, oh, actually, it's the same thing. Yeah, option click. So option click or right click, create clipping mask. Or go under layer, okay, and create clipping mask this way. Look, there's a shortcut. Command Option G. Okay, that's how popular this little technique is. So if I click on the image that resides on top of the box that I'm placing it on top of, Command Option G. Whoops, sorry, Command Shift G. My bad. Command Option G. Oh, Control Option G. Never mind. My shortcuts are not working here. Create clipping this. That's Option Command G. Anyways, maybe I substituted my shortcut with something else. So yeah, there. Option Command G. There we go. All right. Okay. Um, so that was the method that was used to place images in containers, let's say, and build a whole website or even a layout catalog, could be a movie poster, book cover, all that stuff, right? But now I'm going to show you the new method, and that's using this new tool called here we go. It's called the frame tool. Okay, so we're going to rebuild this whole site using the frame tool, and that'll kind of show you how this is done using that method. So this is called the frame tool. If I press the play button, I'll let you watch a quick 2-minute video on the gentleman here that's part of the Adobe team explaining how this tool works. I think it's the latest addition to Photoshop, if I'm not mistaken. It's like a couple of years old now. For me, everything was like yesterday because I've been using it for so long, the software. But it is quite new compared to the other tools and methods. So let's watch the video and see what this is about.
The frame tool allows you to create placeholder frames, which can later be filled with placed images. This convenient tool is perfect for planning compositions, organizing your design elements, or creating mockups. To access the frame tool, press K on your keyboard or find it in the toolbar. Click and drag to draw a frame on the canvas. You can add an image to the frame by dragging and dropping directly into the frame. It will automatically scale to fit the frame's dimensions. Both the frame and the image inside can be selected, resized, or rotated together or separately. To select the frame or image independently, use the Move tool. Click to select the frame and double-click to select the image. To replace an image in a frame, simply drag and drop a new image on top of the frame. The new image will automatically scale to fit the frame, replacing the previous image.
Okay. Simple enough, right? It looks simple, but sometimes it could get complicated because of the overlapping segments of a website. So I'm going to delete this, right, and demonstrate this new tool, how it works in Photoshop. So let's leave this alone as comparison. We're just going to jump to this one here. I like to make sure I lock my other, well, I'll use the header first, right, for this one. This will be my first target, this rectangle here. So he didn't use any objects. He basically went right to this frame tool and created the frame to place the image into. So if you do this, it eliminates the grayscale design. Now, it still helps to have these setups. You know exactly where you're placing, what you're placing, where. So I'm going to use the frame tool. I'm going to go on that layer so I know where my placement's going to be. And again, if this wasn't here, you can do this from the beginning. So I can go literally, this doesn't have to coexist, okay? This doesn't have to even be there. That's just a reference for me from a design standpoint. But I can just go and do it without that. I can go ahead and draw a layer or a frame like this, okay? And notice how it created this layer here with a little, it's like a mask within. That's how the frame tool behaves. And I'm just going to move this over a bit to show you how this drag and drop technique works, because why not? Everyone loves dragging and dropping, right? So I'm going to go and drag and drop this image here, the same one, just like that. Now it fitted in relation to its maximum height. If I replace it with something else, let's go with this one. Same thing. Aha. So if the image is bigger in size, it'll fill up the actual proportion that way. So it's about the size of the image that you bring in proportion to the frame. So notice how some images work really nicely and some don't. That's because these images are smaller in width. So if the width is not exceeding the potential width of the frame, this is what's going to happen. So what you do in this case is you resize the image. So if you double click, right? If you double click, you're inside the image here. If you click once, when you're not select, so let's go to the move tool here because that's your selection tool. So if you click once, you're selecting the whole frame. If you double click, you're selecting inside the frame, just like InDesign. I'm going to reference InDesign because it's the same thing. I think even Illustrator, it's called the isolation mode. Then you go inside the object, from the object, from the object, or from the image in the clipping mask. Another way to be consciously aware of what you're doing is here. So either this or this. You see? Here I'm selecting the frame. Here I'm selecting the frame. Moving the guys over. My guys were getting in the way, but you know what I can do? What I should do is lock my guides. Good idea, everyone. Lock guides, lock guides. Because once the guides are done, there's no need for you to mess around with it, right? So now I can have no interruptions. So if I click on the frame, okay, I get to resize the frame. That's your clipping mask, call it, right? Your frame, your main placement. Okay. To move it, you grab the edge, like anywhere but the bounding box nodes, and you can move the frame around. To resize it, you grab the little handles like that. And you can do obviously horizontal, vertical. To click on the content, you click on the content, which is the right thumbnail here beside the frame. When you click on the content, now you're in charge of the content. So then you can hit Command or Control T and you can resize it based on your, liking or perimeter. And now this content becomes part of your design, right? That's how the frame tool works. The problem you're going to run into is if you have this image now overlapping this area here, because it might confuse this image with this box because it's overlapping. To prevent that from interfering is by locking it or just making it invisible. I think locking it might be a better solution. So let me show you why this is, I found it to be a little bit of a problem, or not really a problem, but a deterrence, or call it an obstacle in terms of doing this flawlessly. So if I was to select this one now, which is in this other group, the body, okay, so let me do auto select layer. Oh, it's locked. No wonder. I'm going to unlock all these. Lock, unlock. So when you lock the layers, you might have the group, you might have to unlock the layers individually. That's just how it works. Group stuff. Okay, so this is my next one, right? I wonder if I can convert that. There's a conversion method. I can convert it to, convert to frame. There we go. So instead of me redrawing this, I can just convert this vector shape to frame. Okay, and I'll just call it, I don't know, middle box, okay, or something that makes sense. Now this is a frame as opposed to me just using the frame tool. I converted a vector shape that I already created for my wireframe prototype into like a frame box, which means I can go ahead and place another image in here like this, right? So that works too. And again, the difference is selecting the frame or the contents. Either or, you get to control everything that does this. And if you deselect, that's what it looks like. Now, these are overlapping. So this is when the problems might happen. You might not have a problem. I'm just saying be careful because it does happen quite a bit. If I was to bring in this in here right now, it works that way. I was to bring in this in here, it works that way too. Right. You just have to be mindful of each one. I think because they're in separate groups, it does make it a little easier in that sense. Um, Let me just do another one over here. I'll do the one beside it. Oh, I gotta convert this to a frame first. So I'm selecting this. See, for me to select this box right now, from here, it's giving me a problem because this image is overlapping too. So be careful when you do that. Unless Photoshop, you know, they actually fixed it. I call it a bug. I think it's fixed now. So it doesn't interfere as much as it used to, okay, which is a good thing. So if I select this box here and you can't right click, unfortunately. You have to go here from the pop-up menu and convert to frame. I'll call it right box, first column, whatever you want to call it, something in relation to your design. And then I can go drag and drop this. It works just like that really well. And if it's resized, and I'm purposely resizing it to overlap both of these, there'll be no problems. This is separate. This is, yeah, so they fixed the bug, which is good. Because sometimes it was annoying. You would click here and then it would select this image instead of that image because they're both overlapping. If you can see the lighter blue outline, they're both overlapping each other internally, but externally they're both separate boxes like this. So they did improve it, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. That's why they do updates, right? For that reason. All right, so let me just, now that I kind of explain how this works, let's really make this look proper. And let me show you the other way, because you might not be a drag and drop person. You might not like drag and drop, right? So what happens if you don't like the drag and drop? Let me just click on this thumbnail here. I don't think this is even suitable for this. I'll replace it with something else. Right? If you don't like drag and drop, the alternative solution is to let's make this into a frame, this box here on the right. I'm going to right click on this. I'll just go over here or go to layer. It's here somewhere. Layer content options. No. You use this menu here until I find the shortcut or something. So convert to frame is what we want to do. And you name it left box or whatever, you know, the name would be. And then once the frame is there, you can either go drag and drop like I demonstrated for, you know, these other examples. But what I can do instead is now go to file, okay? And I can do place embedded or linked. Okay, this is how it works. Now, these images that I dragged and dropped, I think they're embedded. So if I do a linked one this time, by default, I think it embeds it, right? I'll do a linked and I'll click on this one over here. it does this. See, it didn't really, well, actually it did it. Never mind. I was looking at the wrong place for a second. So it did do a good job in terms of placing it, but you have to be very careful by making sure this is selected, right? If you select, well, you can't select this because there's nothing there. So make sure the frame is selected before you go file, place. If you don't select it, if you accidentally click somewhere else, like let's say I click on this rectangle and I'm thinking this is selected, it's not going to work. It's going to just give you, obviously, you know, a placement of an image like the regular way. It's not part of this anymore, right? Unless you move it in. See that it's snapped in there. So you could technically drag it over afterwards and then resize it. That's kind of clever, actually. They've also improved that feature, which is great. Okay, so even if you miss or you place it, you can drag it in there. But be careful because that means now I can drag this over here. Right? So be careful. You don't want to just drag things to the wrong place or lock and unlock layers. Let me grab another one over here. I'm going to select the content. I want to replace this one, so I can just go either file, place, linked, or file, place, embedded. Let's do embedded this time to see the difference. I'm going to go with this one. Okay, and this is the one we're using here. So it all kind of embeds it either way. If you double click, it will edit the image externally. So you could make changes here and then, you know, update it automatically. Let's say I want to change the color of this lipstick or scarf or whatever this is. I'm going to press B for brush, make the brush a little bigger, press X. I'm doing masking right now. Let me just change the color to the default red so it doesn't throw you off. So I'm masking this piece of material here. You do an adjustment layer, either way. I'll press Q. I'll go to my adjustments over here. I'll do my hue and saturation adjustments. I'm going to change the color. I forgot to inverse it. My apologies. It's inverse the selection. Okay, so inverse. So I'm selecting the scarf. I'll do my hue and saturation adjustment layer. I'll change the color of that garment there. I'll go with the red, let's say. I'll go with the blue, so it's really different. So I'll match that blue, let's say, or purple, right? That's my new one. So now I have to, technically I have to go to, I'll have to flatten it, save it, and it should update in my file here. So you could edit these linked sources or embedded sources separately. All right, to do the changes. So whether you want to go drag and drop or you want to go file, place, embedded, that's how you can utilize these things. Another method that we used was, let's demonstrate on this example here. I'm going to move this over. This is my left box. Is people would just go to the frame tool and you would just trace the box that's already there. And that's fine too. You're just putting another box on top of a box, basically. And in that case, you can just go, you know, drag and drop. And there's your frame tool. So when you do that, it's a little too redundant to have too many things, you know, happening at the same time. You can then get rid of the old box because this is still sitting there. If you want it there for, you know, um, guide purposes or, you know, something to have there as a placement holder for next time, just an empty field, you can leave it alone. But just to kind of eliminate too many layers, you can just delete it because it did serve its purpose in terms of you utilizing this frame tool effectively. All right. Now, if you have an older version of Photoshop, or let's say you work for a creative studio and they give you an old computer and they don't have this tool, then you have no other way but to use the clipping mask method, which works just as good. So you want to use a clipping mask method, which is option click and put the images in the boxes, that's fine. If you want to use the frame tool, which is the newly integrated placement tool in Photoshop for layouts and designs, that's fine too. Okay. The difference is you're using either this tool or you're substituting it with, or this substituted the original method, which was the vector tools and placing images within the vector tools, utilizing clipping masks to get the job done. Okay. So I want to show you both methods. And honestly, I want us to use the new method, which is the frame tool. But if you want to demonstrate a mix of both, that's fine too. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and do the rest of them now. I'm going to simply select with shift. Now watch, let's see if this works. I selected these three rectangles at the same time. I'm going to then go to the pop-up menu and then basically I can't convert to frame. You see, I can't do multiple. So I got to do one at a time, which makes sense because it is a very tedious type of process. It might get it mixed up in terms of how the execution is. I'm gonna go convert this to frame. I'll call it whatever the name is by default here. I'll do this one as well, convert to frame. So the thing is you have to do one by one. There's no quick solution about this. And the last one, convert to frame. So whether you want to create, existing frames on top of frames or converting frames, it's entirely up to you. All right, so then you select the frame and you drag and drop your images in there to make this happen. Ready? So there's the frame here. And if it's missing its parameters, like it's cutting off at the top there, you simply double click to edit the image, okay? Or you simply click on the thumbnail here to be in more of control to what you're editing within the actual frame itself. I can move it over to the left there to show some of the sneakers. And then you can press enter to execute the final resize. Then this frame over here, we'll do another drag and drop area here, running out of sources. But some of these nature pictures. All right, nature pictures are good. There we go. There's a lighthouse. We'll do another one over here of the mountain. Again, double click. So that does the whole thing. So I think double clicking actually selects the whole thing. It's like clicking here. That's what double clicking does. I think if you double click the second time, then it goes here. The best ways to, honestly, what I would do is just do it this way. The frame or the content. I would trust this more than double clicking, triple clicking. Sometimes you miss a click, the timing is off, whatever. The mouse could not work. Your tap on your touchpad, whatever it is, right? So just do the selection from here, do the control or command T and control it this way. All right. All right. I wonder if you can just do this here like that. So no, it doesn't let you cross over images and stuff. So literally, if you want to move this image here, it doesn't let you. It just literally moves it outside. It makes it outside the box, right? Could you move the boxes around? Sure. Yeah, you have to just simply either, let's say I want to swap these two placements, right? I would not do this, right? Because then you got to do this and get this one over here and move it over. I mean, you could do that if you want, but I'd much rather do it the other way around by just moving the images, from the box instead of moving the box over. I'm just gonna maybe show you that part there. So I would literally do this. I would drag this image, literally like click on the shoes and just drag it outside like this, move it out. Okay. Click on let's say this image over here, I'm swapping it with. Make sure you click on the thumbnail and drag that out. You see what I'm doing here? It's like dragging and dropping. You got to be comfortable with your environment as well. And then I'm going to drag this in here, basically. See how I went right in? It's very sensitive. It recognizes your actions, so it just places it there. And I'll grab this image, and I have auto select layer turned on. So I grab this one in here. So it does kind of recognize the whole thing. All right, so double click or just click here, click, click and drag over there. Either way, that's how you can swap things back and forth. See, before you couldn't do this. Photoshop was really finicky. I mean, it was doable, but it was all about cutting and pasting. And let's face it, when you cut and paste selections, you can't control placements. Like you can't just go in here and move this around like that. That's why this is very flexible. And, from a designer standpoint, it was needed for this to work. Okay. Let's throw that pattern on top. I think that'll kind of fill the area there nicely. Again, we'll do like an old school clipping method for that one. We'll put it on top here. At the very, very top, just option drag, just to keep it simple. And maybe we'll use like a blend mode or something like that, just to kind of really douse it out a bit, so it'll too bright. All right. Overlay of some kind. And you're not going to put a pattern on top of your website, right? Unless you have a good reason to, or something is making sense for you to add in there. So either you can do it this way or the other way. You can see the difference here between these two examples to do the frame tool. Okay. All right. I'm going to save this now. And we'll call this the frame tool exercise, I guess. The frame tool. The frame tool inserts. Okay. And that's how we were able to insert all the graphics in here. Whereas the exercise we did last week was using the clipping masks and stuff, and that works as well. I'm going to use this as an example because it looks more complete because it has some content and some text. We did a little more details on this one, whereas this one is mostly like just images and boxes and stuff. Okay. So I'm going to use the other one as the example moving forward. Having said that, I'm going to close this now that I saved it. This one also can close. And now I'm able to basically use this as my next example going forward. All right. So what happens next? So these lessons I just gave you, believe it or not, covered today in last week's lesson, a continuation of doing. Since I'm going on a trip next week and I have limited access to Wi-Fi, if I do miss the class, I'll try to make an announcement to tell you. Obviously, I'm not gonna just not let you guys know, but just in case even that doesn't happen, don't be surprised. Maybe I'm sure I'll get Wi-Fi, but I will find out how weak or strong the signal is. I will let you guys know about the class next week. In case we do miss it, we're not far behind. That's what I'm trying to say. So by me doing a continuation of this lesson now, I'm solidifying that or securing our learning progress. Okay. So that's why I'm going to do this next part with you now as well. So let's go ahead and see what happens next. So the website's done. We learned the methods of placing images and content, and now we have this beautiful, wonderful, frame tool that works really well. Look, it's independent. There's no subtools in it. Who knows until the next version. So now what happens to the website? Okay, what happens next? Well, you can even go to canvas size. I know we did 1500, but let's just say we do want to have a 600 width website. There's nothing wrong with that, right? You can have an extra space added in there to kind of have a fuller looking design. And this will be, like a black background. I'm going to hide all the the guides and rulers and stuff. Okay. I chose black because it's a nicer kind of filler with the background. And white is the default on the browser background. So you'll see why I'm using black, and then I'll show you how to control the browser's background to match your design background. So you can do lots of nice matching sequences here, okay? All right, so I have a black background. I got the footer here. I have the body, I have the header, and I have call to actions, which is all the type on top. All right, excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and save this onto the desktop. Now you have access to all these files that do have these uploaded on Blackboard. So you can basically use these files for an example for this exercise. All right, this is the other one. This is the one we used as the frame tool, and this is the other one. And the frame tool I won't upload because I'm trusting you will do it from the one I gave you for the example. So use that example for you to use the frame tool. But you have this one. So make this look like this basically from the image sources. So use convert these boxes to the frame tool and just upload the images. Okay, so you get familiar with that method. Or better yet, put new boxes on top and drag and drop the images to make that layout happen also. All right, and you can see some of the other wireframes that I have here. All right, so now what? Well, some people do this. They just give this to the client and say, hey, do you like your website? And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I've done that myself. I've taken JPEGs or pictures and showed people designs and say, here's your website. What do you think? This is after we met 3 times and they told me clearly they want the lighthouse on this right side of the page. Okay, and they want the profile picture here. They want the sneakers to be very well, exemplified at the top. This was all communicated. So the third time we're meeting right now, they're looking at the design, saying, you know what, this is exactly what we were looking forward to. So now what happens? Well, now you want to make sure you prepare these images for the actual website, like the real website. Because let's face it, this is not a real website. This is just a design that's going to become a website. Okay. Now, some people can't even visualize this way. They still expect to look at the website in the browser. So presentation is key. It's like when you sell something, you want to make sure you deliver to the optimal way of presenting it, the best way to, execute the sale. That's why you go to a dealership. What the first thing they do is they let you test drive the vehicle. When you test drive the car is different than you just looking at the car. You're making quite the investment. So you want to drive the car before you buy it. Same thing with the website. You want to make sure it works, it looks good on the browser before you commit to the design. It's not the best comparison I know, but let's go with it anyways, all right? So rather than showing them a picture like this, what better ways to then have it either preview it on the browser so they click on a link and you have a private server set up, or you can have like a Dropbox account, and then they actually see the website live on a browser. And again, it's not a website, it's a design of a website that looks like a website on a browser. And that's the ultimate way to sell something because it's kind of there. All you have to tell them later is once you agree to this, we can then make it work. And that means I have to do the links and all the other stuff for the website to function like a website. So let's take that approach first, and then I'll show you the second one, which is producing the image assets for the actual browser, okay? Or for the HTML and the CSS. Now let's keep in mind, I think I did show you this last week. Let's say you do want to copy the exact design for this. Look your very best this season. Like this is a header. It's an Arial bold, 57 points. Look up here, right? You could do let me just you can't highlight it. When you highlight it, it won't let you do this. You have to literally just select the layer from the text like this, and then go to copy CSS. When you copy the CSS, you can paste it directly in your HTML. Okay. I think I demonstrated this last week, but let me quickly cover it here as well so you kind of know how that works. So then you open up the text editor and then you hit, I'm just going to make the type a little bigger, paste. So you paste this in your HTML. 57, Arial, okay? Line height, width, height, all this stuff is there for you. So you can literally copy and paste your all your text input in here into CSS and put it on your real website. So it matches the exact design. Okay, that's how you do it. Now your positioning is different. That's when your HTML skills comes in handy. But for the very most, I mean, for the most part, you can basically do a lot of the simulation from design to production. And the nav bar, of course, this menu bar, you have to make that in HTML. I mean, this is just for looks to show them, hey, that's the menu, that's what's going to look like. You literally can't do much in Photoshop to help you with that, but you could do the rest of the stuff. So the images, for example, what we do with these images now, let's just go to, I can do this two ways. I can show you the HTML with the layers, or I can do it through slices. So there's a two-tier part. Let's do the slices first. So the slices were the original method that designers used to make websites from Photoshop. There was another program called Image Ready, which supplemented Photoshop to do this part and more, which means you can link the actual navigation and make an actual real website without any coding skills. Yes, it's true. How effective was it? Not too effective because you can't really do that much editing if you don't know HTML. So knowing HTML is the key. Even if you're learning WordPress and these other GoDaddies and Wix websites, you still have to know HTML to edit the content in there. Like it's not just drag and drop. You have to change the header, the colors, the backgrounds. These are, centering alignments. These are things you have to know to help you become better at designing websites. So with this now, this method was still good up until smartphones came out, because this did not um, accomplish the responsive measure of the websites. So basically, you can't make responsive websites using this method. It's good for presentation, it's good for selling, it's good for executing, but for responsive, you have to make another one, basically. That's all. So let's go ahead and do it. For me to do that, I'm going to have to make sure I just lock all these so I don't have any interference. I'm going to select all my layers, my groups here, and just lock them all up. Okay, so they don't accidentally move, and I don't do anything by accident like that. Then you go to the crop tool, because remember, crop tool is where you crop images. I didn't really show you the perspective crop tool, but it does just that. If you do perspective crop tool, it'll I gotta use the layers. It'll just do a perspective crop on images. I don't really feel it's that important unless you have a reason to do perspective crops, then that's fine, but it's there. The slice tool is where I'm getting at. There's two tools here, the slice tool and the slice select tool. They're equally important. However, they do interchange as you're using the method, because the slice tool slices. As soon as you slice something, it converts to this tool automatically. So you don't have to necessarily go here and do this. But if you have to, that's how you would do it. Just in case it doesn't convert for whatever reason, you can go here and just say, hey, give me this select tool, because I want to, after I'm done slicing, let me select my slices. Another key point I want to make sure, when we did this, I made sure when you make a website in Photoshop, you do not make artboards. Artboards do not work with slices. It's going to become a mess, because there's areas of slicing that doesn't preclude to boundaries of a document. So basically, don't even just turn this off if you're going to use slicing. That's why I was very cautious about this in the beginning, and just made sure I was quite adamant to tell you to turn this off, because when you're making like one template design, you don't need the artboards. When you make the multiple pages, as we will do next time, I will show you how to make multiple artboards and things like that, right? So the next lesson next week will be the multiple artboards, and we're not going to slice the website. Okay, we're going to do exporting assets for HTML. So that's like next week's class. I'm going to get into that. This week, I wanted to reiterate placements, images, frame tool, and slicing. Okay, so that's the main separation here of the two. All right, so to slice, you have to literally go to the slice tool and look at it in terms of a breakdown. If you break this down, you can clearly see that this here, and look, by default, Photoshop right away acquired 0, 1. The default is 0, 1, which is the first slice. Gray means it's inactive. Blue means it's active. The slices that you make will be blue. The ones that it makes after that, it's going to be gray. When you cut a pizza slice in half, depends how you cut it. One is for you, the rest is the leftover. It's going to be gray. So gray is the leftover slices, blue is the active slices. All right. So let's go ahead and slice this header here. Now, it's better to sometimes, if you go to snap to layers, it'll detect the edges and the slices will be more accurately designed. So you do turn this on, slices. So snap to slices, okay? And snap to layers. So basically, but you don't want the grid because the grid, so I wouldn't do all because the grid is really disrupting and it might snap back and forth and it's going to be, what are you snapping to, guides or layers or, grids? So just make sure grid is off. And the guides, turn off the guides as well because we already did the guides. Actually, the guides might not be a bad idea because we did constrain things to the guides. So that you can leave. Layers you can leave. Slices you can leave. Document bounds, I'll leave that one too, just in case we go to the top of the page. So everything but the grid will be disabled. Now let's see, because my layers are locked, will it adhere to the layers? So if I go from here and here and there, yeah, that works perfect. Look at that. 1500 by 151. That's okay if it's not 150. That's fine. It's 1 pixel off. I basically drew a rectangle from here all the way to the opposite corner here, capturing this pattern, which happens to be my header, or I'm going to replace that later with an animation, some kind of an advertising or a banner. For now, just to throw a pattern in there is what we did. Okay. This menu bar will be executed in HTML. So just to kind of have it separated too, I'm going to make a slice out of it as well. Before I do, let's observe what happened. This became number 1. This became number 2. This became number 3. The rest became number 4. So if you cut a piece of paper in half, it leaves the rest half of the halves out there. Because I was very kind of strategic here, I went from here to there. It cut this off, it cut that off, and the rest off. So I ended up with 4 slices. Okay, for making 1, I made 4 by default. Notice how the other ones are gray. So if I keep going right now, here's the strategy. You start at the corner. See very precisely. Look, that's why this is a scalpel. This is not a sledgehammer, a scalpel. That's how we do this. So we're going to go right from the corner here all the way across to the other side, like that. This becomes the menu now. The menu slice, because later you're going to put a real menu there in HTML and CSS. The next one, right from the corner here again, all the way across to get this one out. And that's the hero banner, which will again maybe we use for featuring products or some advertisements as well. These are more inbounded. However, I will slice them individually as well. So I'm going to go from here to there. And same thing here. And same thing here. And thanks to my layers and guides and columns and everything that I did, it's all nicely and perpendicular, right? So basically slicing all the pieces for my website. This one is a little off. So if it's off now, here's what you do. You go to the slice select tool. Remember, you can switch back and forth. You can select this slice and you can fix its parameters. For whatever reason, this one didn't snap properly. So I'm going to make sure it does just that. See? Now I could have also extended this to grab these as well, but this will be done in HTML and text, so you should have those separate anyways. So we'll perhaps maybe do another slice to capture those individually. So I'm going to go over here, start from the corner, and go all the way across like that. Grab this one, do the same thing, make sure it's nice aligned. I can put an additional guide if you want, and that'll help me kind of keep these things lined up in case it doesn't do its thing. You know, you can help it. And then go over here like that as well. Make sure when you make the guides, you have to like literally go back and lock them again. So let me just make a few more here. I'm going to grab these. See, I'm trapping these. I didn't really get into horizontal guides, but in this case, before you slice, it might be a good idea. So let me just do some of this. Let's put some horizontal slicing in there so it captures all my design nicely. Okay, I should have done it to the menu as well. Why not? There we go. Okay. And then you can go back to view, lock the guides, okay? Because you don't want to accidentally start moving the guides around. It's going to mess everything up. All right, let's keep slicing. So we're using the slice tool here to cut this website up into, different modules and pieces so we can actually go ahead and utilize that for our presentation. So we're going to cut this one as well. And this one. And this one. It should all snap by itself. Wonder why this one looks a little off or something. Sometimes the slicing does get a little messed up. You just kind of go back and reconfigure it. There we go. I just have to nudge it up a bit to snap it to the guide that's why, you know what, like I shouldn't rush this. When I did my guides, I should have done it more like zoom in to make sure they're nice and snapped. Otherwise you might get like a weird number, like 27, 32, and 28. So when you see that, something's wrong. You should see a whole number like 26, 28. Well, because this one is 27. See, in between that becomes a gap. So that becomes 27. Next becomes 28, 29, 30, 31, right? 32, then 33, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to go grab this one also. There we go. 35. 36. This is 37. I'm going to go all the way across here. And yes, I'm grabbing this with the call to action together. It's a graphic, doesn't matter. I mean, if I show you Amazon or other websites, they're no different with how the slicing works, right? So see this, like this is, look, slice, slice, slice. Now, I'm not insinuating that this is how Amazon was made. They didn't go to Photoshop and slice Amazon. Trust me. They did it from a, hardcore HTML custom program method. Okay. But just to show you the designer that did it, slice the images like we're doing it, or save the images separately, resize them. Look, they're all the same size. To do this, you have to have a plan and a method to make all these thumbnails fit the same size. So slicing is a way to get this done like this. And this is why we're doing it this way too, right? Who knows what they did? I don't know. I can't speak for the developers for Amazon. I'm sure they did some kind of image optimization. I wouldn't be surprised if they use Photoshop and they use the same method that we're using, or they cropped images individually. I think if they knew this method, it would have helped them because this is a lot faster than them doing each image and resizing it according to specs, if you follow me, because this encompasses all the design together, right? So you have, 35, 36, 37. This is going to be HTML, so I'm going to slice it anyways as number 40, right across like that, right? 41. I know it looks a little busy now, so let me hide imagine we had the guides, the the grid, the guides, and the slices. That's a mess now. So I'm going to hide the grid, hide the guides, and I'm going to just deselect the slices like that. Okay. The blue ones are the ones I made, I created. The gray ones are the leftovers. The total amount of slices is 43. Okay. Should be 40. Yeah, 43. 42 because I didn't go right to the bottom there. So the purpose of this again is for, look, you can export this for HTML also. This will also work, by the way. Just like I showed you the two methods of building a website using the, the object tool and using clipping masks. Look, layer clipping, option click, last week's lesson. And today I showed you the frame tool, another method. This is the same type of comparisons. I'm doing slicing, and next class I'll show you asset export. It's another method. The reason I'm showing you both methods is because they're both effective. And it's good to know both because you can choose either or. I honestly have half my class liking this over the other method, and half my students might like the other method over this method. It's up to you. The other method has more advantages, I think, than this one, but this one also works quickly, even for other things. Let's say you're doing just the layout and design. Look how easy it is for you to cut it up into pieces and export it. This is a lot simpler in terms of execution and visual layout. So they both have their advantages in that way, okay? Let me save this now. I'll call this a sliced version. Website sliced template, okay? I'll save it onto my desktop here, and then I'll go with that, okay? The next part is very interesting because now how do we get these slices individually exported for a website design? Well, let's find out. We have the HTML, let's say, prepared in another, let's say you did a whole HTML template setup and it matches this 4 columns, 1 row, 3 columns. You can just place the images in there. But to get the images like basically individually saved, you don't want to go file, export as, like, you don't want to do this kind of stuff. Just unlock the images for a second. You know what I mean, right? Like double click, save the image, save all the images independently. They're already saved. So why are we resaving them, right? The trick is to save them all equally with the size that we decided to after we sliced the design. So here we go. File, export, save for web. Legacy means the older versions, of course. So layers to files doesn't work because that'll give you a whole bunch of, I don't know if it's gonna even resize the images properly, but this is what you want to use when you slice the website. And the next method I'll show you with the assets. So save for web under export. Then Photoshop will give you another optimized screen. Now this is how you optimize images for the web. And you can have a 2-up and a 4-up view. 4-up and 2-up, the difference is you can compare, let's say we're exporting this image here. Now, when I say image, I mean slice, slice, slice. So you're able to select each and every slice in your design, and you can export that slice only for your website. You see that? Now, we're not going to do it one by one because that'll take you forever. We're going to do the whole thing at once. But in order for you to do it accurately, you have to consider each image a proper optimization for it to work accordingly, right? So for this pattern, for example, I clicked on the pattern. Notice how it highlights everywhere what I select. This pattern, under my preset here on the right, okay? Now this is the original. This is the first version, second version, third version. You're comparing versions. Not to overwhelm you, but I want to show you both, so what it does. Let's do a JPEG. Oh, this is medium, this is low. So you can optimize. This is to compare what works, what doesn't work. If I go with JPEG low quality and I zoom in, pressing Command minus, look what JPEG low quality looks like. I'm sure you've seen this before with images. This is maximum quality, medium quality, low quality. Actually, there's no difference between medium and low. They both look kind of bad. So the main takeaway here is use very high quality. Doesn't have to be maximum. I would use like very high quality. Okay. Even high quality might look okay. Once you get into the medium and low, then you get this deterioration of pixels or distortion or dithering and stuff. So stick with a very high or very high quality. Now, here's the thing. No one's going to zoom in that close to your text on your website. So don't worry about that. You don't have to get too critical. But for this pattern, use the space bar here. You can see how, even for the text, you can see how crucial it is to keep it as a PNG. So what I'm going to do for the pattern here, sort of a JPEG, because you can look how bad the JPEG is. Now, there's a takeaway here. This is 200K. For that banner to take up 200K, maybe a little too much, because then the website becomes laggy, slow. So this is very important for you to execute, because this will determine how fast the website loads. Don't forget, you pay data on your cell phone. We all have unlimited, but the high maximum data streams over. You might have a 50 gigabyte plan on your mobile service. You might have a 100 gigabyte plan. That takes up your usage of data. This data is the data that your people are paying for, and not only that, it's also slowing down the process of the website. Google even ranks your website higher if it loads faster. Did you know that? So all these measures equate to the success of the website. So this optimization process is crucial, very important. And as far as image optimization, and naming is also important too. So if I call this image here, if I call it, let's say the website's selling sneakers or something online, I'll put the website's name or the keyword that people search for to buy sneakers. So maybe like, comfortsneakers.ca or something. So I'll call it comfort sneakers banner, comfort sneakers header, comfort sneakers image. Keep reusing the name and just kind of use keywords within the images when you're optimizing them for the website to have a successful, SEO optimized websites. And SEO is called search engine optimization. I'm sure if you heard it. It's not just content, it's also images that are optimized with keywords that reflect those images that go into the website. So this is what you're doing when you're doing this. You're not only looking at it, you're saving it. So this is comparing high quality, medium quality, low quality, right? Honestly, I don't even do this. I go to 2UP. 2UP is good enough to see the original to what you're getting. So I would use 2UP. Don't even bother doing 4UP. That's just me to show you, this is 44K. This is 28K. This is the lowest. But are you going to sacrifice file size over quality? Not really. Meeting halfway would be the ideal thing. So sort of 200K. Let's go with a PNG solution, 8-bit. It's going to be 100K. Okay. If it's 24-bit, it'll be 262. There's not much of a difference. So I'll stick with the PNG 8. The PNG is a portable network graphic format. 8-bit only gives you 256 colors, which should satisfy all the colors on this pattern, which is why I used the pattern to show you that example. So all these colors are enough to cover this image, you see? So PNG works for logos, colors, graphics, solid colors, limited color graphics, okay? That's what PNG is. So if I'm gonna export this and as a PNG 8, it's only gonna cost me 100, it's only gonna produce 108 kilobytes. I'm okay with that. Okay. So I don't need 4UP. Let's use 2UP now to get a better indication of what we're getting. So 2UP is what it looks like, and this is what you're producing. As a matter of fact, even optimize gives you a more simpler approach to that. So that's why there's original. Original is what your document is. Optimize is what you're optimizing the website to be. 2UP is comparing the two, and 4UP is additional comparisons. So let's stick with optimized. So now that we know what the other ones do. So let's start with the top again. PNG 8-bit gives me how many? 108K. no problem. This I don't care because it's going to be done in HTML. For the purpose of exporting it for visuals, I'll stick with 8-bit because it's only black and white. So yeah, 8-bit or even GIF or GIF is only 256 colors, which is more than enough than what I need. So these two basically will be that. Okay. Maybe even this. Well, let's go in order here. So this is an image, this image banner. Now the text you're going to do in CSS and HTML, but for previewing purposes, I might want to show this off. PNG might not be the best option for images. I would then switch to JPEG. So that stands for Joint Photographic Export Group. They're the company that invented this compression software to produce files for the internet and other means. Your cell phone uses JPEGs too by default. So JPEG, high quality gives me 100K. If it's very high quality, it gives me 186K. Now, if it's a banner, I'd go with very high quality because you might want it to look good. People might have a big monitor and stuff, and they might want to zoom in. So I don't care about the extra 80K. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave it in there. These smaller ones, however, and I'm not going to go on one by one. I'm going to hold shift and select 1, 2, 3, 4 at a time. I know they're all going to be the same width and height. I'm going to go with JPEG, not maximum because they're going to equate to 500K. I'm going to go with just high quality. And look at my size now, 148K for all 4 images. Okay, so you can do like multiples. Let's do the actual the little headers underneath, or the um, actual links or whatever they're going to be for the images. I'm going to select all 4 call to actions, and then I'm going to make those also PNG 8. Look at this, 2K. Okay, so I'm really optimizing this website for not only to perform better, but to get the best optimization for the entirety of the production of the website. So the next one here, I'm going to select, these are all images, so I kind of can see where they're going also. I'll use a JPEG for those 3. I'm going to stick with high quality, and they're going to cost me 140K, which is good. This is going to be a PNG. That's going to be back to PNG 8. Now, 8 and 24, I would use 24 if I had transparency, because 2K and 4K, there's not much difference. So if you have a transparent logo, you should always use 24 PNG because it's going to be smoother in terms of the edges, right? It's not going to get the jaggedy edges. So you should always use 24. 24-bit means millions of colors. 8-bit means hundreds of colors. 16-bit means thousands of colors. And if you look at the evolution of computers, that's how we started. Look at even the game consoles, the old Nintendo, Sega systems, they were 8-bit. All those games were 8-bit because the video cards and the computers can only produce 256 colors. Then the next generation of games and other stuff came out, computers, video cards, it was 16-bit. So then monitors became sharper, clear. We were looking at thousands of colors. Nice, a nicer spectrum of colors and better resolution. After the 2000s rolled in, 2000 and whatever, 1, 2, 3, 4, the million of colors came out, the 24-bit. Then we had millions of colors. We had the monitors, the high definition, the resolution, and now we're at like the 4K and stuff. We're still stuck at millions. I mean, you can't even billions of colors. Your retina can only perceive so many colors as a biological human being. There's no need to go more. Okay, basically, we've reached the threshold. Now we're into like VR and stuff like that, and that's the next evolution of virtual reality or augmented reality with that. Okay, so far as color depth, I mean, this is as high as it goes right now, 24-bit. So if you have a logo that needs to be transparent, you stick it with 24 PNG. So for this, I'll just leave it 24. I mean, honestly, 2K, 1K, not much difference. This I might do 24 as well, just to kind of, oh, this is JPEG. I'll do PNG 24. It'll be 169K. And this last thing here, it'll be my sitemap. That'll be PNG 8 as well. I don't care about these because they're the leftover slices. However, just because they're not selected, I mean, you don't have to worry about them, honestly, because then you have to go in there and get these little ones. So don't worry about the unselected slices because they're not gonna cause that much trouble because they're inactive anyways, okay? They're only like 1K and stuff like that. Okay, so I will not worry about those. Let's see if it's any different. Yeah, so no difference. I wouldn't worry about those at all. Alrighty. So now what happens next is very important. Now that we optimize the website, and I stress the importance of this, it affects everything. Okay, it affects the speed, the loading time. What's with these videos now? It's always some kind of a tutorial here, which is good, but you know, it's annoying sometimes. It just keeps popping up. This is the whole website. 1600 pixels by 1903 heights. Okay. This is your, if you have an animation, which I'll show you in a few weeks, we'll do a motion design. We can play the animation here too. It's got a control panel. This is your optimized view for the website. So if I hit save now, okay, well, let me see how big the whole website is. If you just draw a marquee, select everything like that. I don't know if Command A works. The whole website is only 800 kilobytes. This is why this is important. If I didn't do what I did, it'd be probably triple, maybe 3 megs. 3 megabytes is not a lot, but it's still gonna take a long time for it to load on a phone, perhaps a slow internet connection and things like that. But me making it 800 kilobytes for the whole website, that's a pretty good accomplishment. That's under a megabyte for the whole site to load with rich images, graphics, and everything. So thumbs up, I think we're good. Let's go ahead and hit the save button. And now we're going to go to the desktop, and this is where the magic happens, okay? We're going to go to the desktop. I'm going to create a new folder. Very important. You make a separate folder. Treat this like a website because it is going to become a website. This will be called Web Ready PSD Files, okay? We're going to hit the create button. What we're saving in this folder is we're going to save the images only. If you have the HTML prepared and you're going to, which you are, okay, so most of you are going to go with this setting right here, images only, all slices, or you can do selected slices, well, all user slices. The user slices is what we created. So in theory, you should go with this, okay? So user slices, the ones you made, you want to export the images only, and you want to put them in that folder. So when you hit the save button, that will happen. And here we are. This folder that I made produce an images folder by default. In that images folder is all your slices. So here's our pattern banner. This is our menu, which you're not going to put in your website. You're going to make a real HTML menu. But this one you're going to put in there. Now the name should also be, I call it website slice template, but you can call it the name of the website to do proper search engine optimization because Google likes that kind of stuff, okay? And then there's this, look, all the same size, ready to get dumped into the website, okay? And then there's the little call to actions, little subheadings underneath the images or the captions. Then there's the other images that we have, look, perfectly sized, exactly ready to go. Then there's the other bottom pieces, and then there's the, again, this is going to be done in HTML, but it's just for representation purposes, it's there. So this is ready now to make your website. It's that much easier when you use Photoshop to plan the layout, the design, and then the execution, right? But yes, I got one more special gift for you this morning, okay? This is great, and this is what you should do, okay, if you want to do this method. Because next week you might like, well, actually, I'm going to make you do the other method next week. So this is just good knowledge for you to have. You can do this nice and easy, fast. Export your layout for the web, slice it up, optimize it, you're good. We did this up until 2010, okay? Sorry, 2015, 16. After that, this other method came out, which kind of made this method not obsolete, but a little more, I guess, modern with the way you can export things and name things accordingly. So, because if this method was obsolete, why would it still have it in Photoshop? So I don't want to call it that. I think it's still very useful, and you can see how easy it is to do. Now, let's just not look at web. You can do this for print too. You can slice up a menu and a high resolution file and export it. So you can export those images to get swapped and inserted maybe into InDesign, maybe into other programs. So this has multi-use, not just web. But web would be the main focal point, and that's why we, from the get-go, we used it only for web design. Most people do anyways. Now let me show you the other solution to this. I'm gonna delete this, by the way. I'm gonna delete this whole folder. Bye-bye, right? The whole folder is gone. Let me show you now what else we did with this. So we have the website done, laid out, sliced, ready to go. We want to show it to the client. The client's not going to understand those images. They're going to say, what's this? They're going to open these images and say, they're going to see this, and the images, they're not going to get it. That the images is to help the HTML web designer put the images into the HTML, of course. But if you want to build a website simply by putting in the browser to show the client what it looks like and to make it look like a real website, so you pitch it or sell it as such, you go do this then. Let me just again do File, Export, Save for Web. We're back here now. You don't have to go to 2UP and 4UP. You can stick with optimized. Okay. Did it remember our settings? Yes, it did. Thank goodness. I don't have to do it again, right? So everything is optimized. If not, do it again. Okay. Nobody takes you only 5 minutes to click on each image and optimize it based on your identification that this is a JPEG, make it a JPEG. Images, photographs, JPEGs, patterns, colors, logos, PNGs, and high res PNGs. I would go with 24 instead of 8. So these are the main ones. This is a web bitmap format. Don't use that one. I don't even know why it's there for maybe PCs and stuff. And GIF and GIF is for animations. We'll cover that in the motion design class. So don't worry about that one yet either. All right, so we did all that. We're going to select the whole thing. 800K. Nice, very good. Let's hit the save button. Make a folder like we already did. So I'm going to target that folder, which we called it Web Ready PSD files. Only this time, instead of images only, look, you can do HTML only. Like, but that doesn't make sense because, again, this is an older language model. We're going to do HTML and images. We're going to say, listen, we want to prepare this as a prototype example for the client, not a working prototype, a visual prototype to exemplify what the website will look like on a browser. Therefore, we have to produce the HTML and the images, okay? And we're going to create, the default settings. It's fine. You can also get some other, I just go with this one. We're going to do all slices because we want to make sure we accompany everything together. For this one, you have to do all of them. Otherwise, it's going to look like there's blanks and holes in the website. So this is the setting that you want to do for another purpose of presenting a website to a client, let's say that you do in Photoshop. I'm going to repeat this. You're not to do this for your next composite assignment. This is for your own personal knowledge, for you to use professionally for something else. That you have to build a website, obviously, in Felicia's class. You have to code the website. The next week's class will be helpful for you to put those, and the one I did previously to this, the images, are you going to do that? This you're not going to do. This is only for me showing you a cool little strategy to sell a product to a client on the internet because you have a server and you want to show them what the website looks like. So this is for your own good. Okay, this is the stuff we used to do back in the day. The problem is this doesn't do responsive websites. So these days most people use their cell phones. If this was a browser website, then fine. But if it was a mobile device, then no, it's not going to work. But either way, it's great for that purpose. So HTML and images, all slices. This will be called index because it's the only first page I'm making for the website. I don't know if you know this, but by default, index would be the first file that the execution on a server looks for to run as the default website file. If I show you my server, which I have several, I have two that I use mostly. I'm with HostPop. I have a GoDaddy one as well. The index HTML is the first page that it's served on the internet. So therefore, I'm going to call this index.html if I'm going to publish this as a real website, right? I'm going to hit the save button. And what Photoshop just did for me is the $64,000, that's what we used to call it, the $64,000 trick, which is converted the website into, or the template into a website. There's the HTML file, and there's the images, the ones we did earlier, except this time it did all the inactive slices, you know, the little gaps and stuff. So you need those to accompany the entire layout. But look at this. This is the HTML now. Ready? Let's open it up. There's the website. It opens up right in the browser. Right? The only thing is it's not centered. It's probably too big. I'm going to zoom out for a second to show you. So if I do zoom out, right, there's the website on the browser, right? Depending on the monitor, it might look good. It might look a little less, but 100% might look okay. A little big, right? And then you can also center it because this white doesn't look that nice with the black background. So the only thing you have to do now is center the website, save it, upload it on a server, and present it to your client. And they'll think it's so. They'll probably start clicking on it, realizing, hey, it's not a real website. It's a prototype of what it will look like before we build it for you, basically. Okay, it's like test driving a vehicle before you buy it from the dealership, right? Because you're not buying the demo, you're buying another car that they're producing for you. This is just a demo, right? So basically now what we want to do is do basic HTML tactics to make this look even better to sell. So if I open this up I'm going to use Brackets. Brackets is an older program we used to use for programming. I think you guys use Visual Code, right? So let's just use Brackets for now. That was an old file. So this is what Photoshop did. Thank you, Photoshop. I'm sure you're familiar with the HTML tag. There's our body. There's our table. Table was the older method of using div tags or placement tags or containers, basically. Tables is how we divided up the slices in Photoshop. So Photoshop still incorporates tables as a breakdown. People still use tables on websites. It's not as responsive as the more robust methods that you use now, like div tags and stuff with Bootstrap and Flexbox and that kind of thing. So this is table, okay? It's got 200 lines of code. And all we're looking, look, this is the width, this is the height. Oh, there's the images. If you scroll over, there's the menu. Oh, where's this one here? Oh, there's the shoes. Look, if you roll over it, it shows you what the image looks like, right? There's the other images here. There's that one. There's this one. There's that one, right? So there's all the images that are part here. You can just roll over and quickly see. What we want to do is go to the BG color instead of white. We're going to type black. We're going to type 00000, like the 6-digit code. That's what hexacode stands. Or just type black. Black is universal. They're all going to know. You type blue, purple, or you can just do a hexacode, the 6-digit code to match the representation of the color. I also want to center it. Okay. So I'm going to go under the table ID here. I could have made the width less, by the way, because I noticed it was too big, but I'm not going to backpedal right now. I'm just going to keep going. After cell spacing, cell padding, all this stuff here, after this, I'm going to put a space, align equals center. So I just put an align equals center tag in because the table is what makes up this website that we build in Photoshop. It's the container. I'm sure you can understand this now because you're doing your HTML, although maybe you're not using tables because it's an older layout model that it's still used, but not as responsive as the more modern ones, but it's still there. So you put a line equals center and you make sure the tag is closed, right? And we made the background color black. That's all we have to do. We hit save, Command S, just save over the existing file. And now if we serve this up on a server or browser, we put a link for the client to go and check out, they're going to see this, right? They're going to see like a more nicer looking website. Not only it's centered, right? It's got a nice background. It's got everything else that needs to be. And you can actually put links too. That's not hard to do, eh? You can go into the HTML and just make other pages and put the links in the tables. Not that I advise you to do that because you want the client just to look at the design and then they can say, "Wow, this looks pretty nice. Like it's a real looking website here." So that's why you want to know how to slice, optimize, say for web, which is HTML and slices. And look, just like the Amazon website, when you go and click on these images and stuff. I think I went too low here, right? Just like their slices of the images, our slices are not much different. Just like they're slicing their website with images, we're using a similar method, except we use Photoshop to get it done. All right, so this is what this kind of trickles into next week's lesson. Like I said, I might have some internet issues, so I want to make sure we're not behind. So go with this for now. You can start the design from Photoshop. Next lesson, I'll show you how to do another method of exporting sources for the more modern way of integrating it with your current HTML, okay? So not only this, there's another way, and then that'll pretty much give you all the knowledge you need to do websites from Photoshop to your other programs, okay? Alrighty, so make sure the book cover is handed in. I know we're kind of past the book cover stage by now. I think I gave you enough time to get it done. If you have any issues, just let me know. Otherwise, that's due. I think my browser is acting up a little bit here.
Milo, quick question.
Yeah.
So do we also have to submit the PSD file
For which project are we talking about?
for the book cover?
Yeah, give me the PSD file. Yeah, so I can see all how you've designed it and stuff.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording now. Another very important lesson of how to take this website build from scratch from Photoshop using a different method. Like I said, next week we might have an interruption in the class. If we do have to reschedule, we're on track. I'm not worried. I'll let you guys know ahead of time. So I'll see you. I'll give you a notice either way. The way it stands, same time, same place next week. We'll have the class. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. My computer's freezing up right now, so I hope that I can even do some of these things here. I might have to even. Can you still hear me? Okay. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
My computer is frozen. I can't even stop my recording now. So hopefully I'm gonna restart it now. And if you guys are still there, that's fine. I'm just gonna come back and then because my thing's like literally locked up here, so I can't do nothing. All right. So I'll see you all next class. Okay. And I'll hope you guys have a great afternoon. We're almost there, and we'll see you later. Okay, on the next video. Bye for now. I'm gonna come back.
Thanks, bye.
Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you.
So I'll be back. I'll just have to force my computer here to quit, and I'll be right back.